When you want to publish in Amazon KDP, there's a lot that goes into it. Yes, it might seem rigorous, but it's actually not. The result is promising. You end up with a good product that can be published anywhere without editing. The beginning might seem daunting, but I tell you, it's the best decision you would ever make. Now let's head on. We're going to be discussing trim size. It's one of those important issues many self-publishers have with their work on Amazon KDP for being rejected. Therefore, the first thing you're going to check out is you can start with, as a new buyer just coming in, you can start with Amazon KDP guide. To check what, there's a lot that goes into that, and I am going to open this in a new tab so that we can come back to this option again. A lot goes into this. If you can feel free to read this if you want to, but if you don't have plenty of time, you can go to Amazon KDP guideline option from Google and go straight to trim size. This trim size will tell us the bleeds that we need and all. First, these are the trim sizes that you need to do. The content, the bleed, which are very essential. It is one thing for you to have finished writing your book, and then it's another thing for Amazon to accept it. And it is very frustrating, time consuming, and even tedious to finish work, all to be rejected by Amazon several times. By the time Amazon rejects it the second time, the first time it might be like, oh, it's part of learning. But by the time it gets to the second or third time, it can be discouraging. You might want to quit, but do not quit at that point. Please go for it, because that might be your best book ever. Now let's go. Your printed book's width and height is the trim size, just as it is written here. I hope you can see my screen. So before I proceed, I would like us to listen to what Amazon has to say directly. And I'm gonna...
Trim size is the physical size of your printed book. The size of your book can vary based on the type of book you want to publish. For example, children's books often have a larger trim size than novels to allow for bigger text and illustrations. On KDP, there's a minimum and maximum page count per trim size. For example, a 6x9-inch book printed on white paper with black ink can be between 24 and 828 pages long. If your page count doesn't fall within the range, consider changing the paper and ink options, or selecting another trim size. To set your trim size, you'll need to set it in your interior file first, and then select the same trim size on KDP. To set your trim size, also called page size, in your interior file, edit your page width and height. If you need help setting the trim size in your file, we recommend checking out online resources for your specific word processing software. When setting up your book on KDP, you can select your trim size on the Content tab under Print Options. By default, trim size is set to 6x9 inches. If needed, you can select a different trim size. For paperbacks, you can choose from standard trim sizes, non-standard trim sizes, or set your own. For hardcovers, you can choose from standard trim sizes. Thanks for choosing KDP. Happy publishing.
So this is what KDP has to tell us about trim sizes, and it is important at this point for you to note. If you are publishing ebook, it is important that you use 8x4, the size of an A4 paper. Yes, the reason being that it's it's ebook, it is read online. They don't have to print it out, and then it reduces the number of pages that readers want. These days, attention span of people are very low, so you want your pages to be as small as possible when it is ebook. Now, when it is paperback, it's another story entirely. If you are working with utility books, probably how to this and that, or some stories. If it's a form of novel, just pick up any of the novel you have around, probably the novel you have at home, or the novel you can see in your library. Your children's guide, your children's book will be a very good guide. Especially those children's book, the books that they bring from school for you, will be a very good guide as to the size, not the back. If you have a kid's book that have the back that is hardcover, the size of it will give you a guide. But I would encourage you to visit one of the stores if you don't have any book around to see how utility books look like, so that you will know exactly the trim size you'll be using for your book. That is for hard copies. Also, it is important to know that for hard copies, if you are printing hard cover back with Amazon KDP, you are going to be, your pages has to be minimum of 75 pages for hard cover back. Otherwise, you might have one problem or the other with KDP. Now, I want us to go to the other side, which talks about bleed. This is another important part. That's the important reasons why KDP rejects people's work. So let us hear what KDP has to say about bleed.
If any of your interior pages contain content like images, background colors, or graphics that reach the edge of the page, you'll need to add bleed to your interior file and select the bleed option when setting up your book on KDP. Bleed is a printing term that refers to when content extends past where your book will be trimmed. When trimming your book to size, there may be a shift of up to 0.125 inches in any direction. Adding bleed extends your content 0.125 inches past the trim line to prevent a border from appearing around your content. To add bleed to your interior file, increase your trim size, also called page size, by 0.125 inches. For example, a trim size of 6 by 9 inches becomes 6.125 by 9.25 inches with bleed. Then, increase your outside margins by 0.125 inches. For example, 1-inch margins become 1.125 inches with bleed. Next, resize the content to fit the page. Keep in mind, 0.125 inches of your content will be cut off when your book is trimmed, so make sure the part being cut isn't something you want readers to see. When you're done formatting your interior file, save it as a PDF. This is the only file type KDP supports for bleed. When setting up your book on KDP, you'll find the bleed option on the Content tab under Print Options. Choose Bleed PDF only. Thanks for choosing KDP. Happy publishing.
Now you can see that with KDP, you have a bleed size of 0.125 inner, 0.125 outer by 0.25 inner, 0.25 outer, which in summary, all you have to know is that for any paper size you are taking, you are adding an extra 0.3 by 0.5 to any paper type you are taking. And this will take us to Canva, where I'm going to show you how you can do that. So before we go, it is important that you notice this. This is what they are talking about: the bleed in and the bleed out. If you are having image on your book, make sure that the part you are leaving out to be cut is not the part that is essential. Remember, whatever you are writing must stay within the boundary. Otherwise, your book will not be accepted. So let's head on to Canva now to see how it is done. So I go to canva.com. You open your page on Canva, and this is where you go. On this place, you can decide to say you want to make a book. I would prefer to create a design, and I'm going to be taking a custom size because in this case, 8.5 by 11 inches is what you want to create for ebook. Remember, for ebook, you are creating 8.5 by 11 inches. For hard copy, you can take any other size because for ebook, if it's not coloring book, even coloring book can be smaller, but if it is like used book or unless it is a textbook, I encourage you to take a smaller width. I encourage you to take a smaller dimension. The reason is simple. It will help you to get more readers, and people will be able to carry your books around, where even if they are not ready to read it in a point. And with that, your book is getting viral. Now, I am taking a custom size and I want to take 8.5 by 11 inches. I'm not going to pick this one because I want to show you how you are going to pick it for easy. If you are writing your inches, if you are customizing it, start with picking the unit first. For example, we are using inches for our ebook, and then for this one we are doing 8.5 by 11 inches. If you do it, you create new design. Now, assuming this one by default, Canva has their units to be in pixel. If you leave it in pixel and then you write your 8.5 by 11 inches and then you come here to change it to inches, this width and this height will automatically convert to inch from pixel because it was formerly in pixel. That's why you must always pick your unit first before you go and write your width and height. 8.5 by 11 inches. Now let's go and create new design. So we are going to be creating book, and now we have our content. Let's take, for example, I am going, for the sake of this class, I will be going to elements. Oh no, that's not the first. Right now, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I create my margin according to Amazon. Now, by default, you have your margin being shown here, the normal default margin being shown here on Canva. And if you are working with other docs too, you see that where your cursor starts, it always has a level of margin, but you still want to obey Amazon's requirement. Remember, Amazon requirement is 0.3 by 0.5, because it is 0.125 outer by 0.25 inner and 0.25 outer. So in the long run, we are having 0.3 inner, 0.3 width by 0.5 height. Now, let's head on. I will start with taking my ruler. From here, I'm taking my cursor to the ruler, holding my mouse down, my left click, or if you are using a laptop, you are holding that mouse down, and then drawing your ruler to your paper. And this is my width, right? So I'm going to 0.3. Please don't be too hard on yourself. Sometimes you might not be able to get that 0.3 exactly, but make sure you are getting more than 0.3, not less than, so that you will always get covered. So this is your 0.3. Yes, I'm unable to get my 0.3 correctly, but that is not the end of the world. At least I'm getting 0.301. It's better than 0.299. Yes. So it's just to ensure that you are working within limit. And then you move your horizontal margin that talks about the height. You move it just as you have done for the first one. Then you move it here like this. We are going to 0.5, right? We are going to 0.5. Don't forget, we are going to 0.5. Yes, I am unable to get exactly 0.5, but it is better for me to have 0.501 than to have 0.4995. That is it. So I'm going, you can see, this is where your ruler is showing here. Your ruler is showing here. You are going to see it again once you see that purple is what is reading. So I'm going to 0.5. Okay, I'm able to pick 0.503 as the lowest after 0.5. Now that I am doing this, I have my 0.5 top, I have my 0.5 sides. However, I must make sure that this also applicable to the down part, such that you have 0.50 or 0.5 inches on top and 0.5 inches down. So you go to your element, and then you go to your element and take shape. This is the shape you have taken. The goal is to make sure that we find a shape, we reduce it to be able to move, to be able to stay here, so that we are going to do that for the 4 sides. So I'm going to reduce this shape now and move it down to this one. It is exactly what I am looking for, right? If you feel like it's not exactly what you're looking for, you can always reduce it and make sure it gets to that side. You can always reduce it and make sure it is to that side. But right now, it is exactly what I need. Now that I am able to do this, it is exactly what I need. You can see that. Now that I am able to do, something is not right. Make sure it is staying right at the tip where that ends, so that you are getting the right measurement. Good. Now, I will now duplicate this one. I will duplicate this particular one. I'm using computer, so I'm using Ctrl D. And move this to the other side. Good. You understand it now? The goal is to make sure that I am getting the same length like this one. You get it? I'm getting the same width, the same bleed. I'm cutting them out in the same way. You get what I mean? So this is 0.3 and this is 0.5. So what I have done here, this one, I will do it for up and bottom too, to be able to make sure that this ruler is also applicable to the horizontal ruler down. So I'm going to duplicate this one again with my Ctrl D and move it out, turn it around. If you want it to be at 90 degrees, it's minus 90 degrees, just as you have seen now. It's minus 90 degrees to be horizontally straight. Then I move it down. I move it up, sorry. I'm moving it up here so that I'll be able to get the exact width for this. So I will expand it at this point so that I get the width. So this is the width that it gets here. You see what is going now? You will, once it gets to that tip, it will turn red. This will turn red, like this thing will turn red. And so this is not actually where I need it, but I want to make sure that I am doing the right thing. So I duplicate this horizontal rectangle to Ctrl D and move it down to the tip of that paper, not to this margin. This margin is there by default to also help you. If you are working within this particular margin, you are good with Amazon. But because of you might have diagrams that you want it to extend throughout the paper, is why we are doing all this. You understand? So this is good like this. You see that it is already at the tip and it's good. Now that I have this, the next thing for me is I'll go back to my shapes. What is this? I'm going to, this is an if you are using, this is good. If you are using Canva, if you're using Canva on your computer, all this readily shows. You can go here and pick up your shapes. I'm taking my rectangle shape, which has already opened for me. But the truth is, I don't want this rectangle shape. I want outline shape, because all I need is something to guide this place for me. A rectangle to be able to satisfy this shape for me. So I'm going to go to element and see if I can find it. So I'm going to look for rectangle outline. I will search rectangle outline. And if I search rectangle outline, these are your rectangle outline. If you are using free version, please, you cannot take these ones that has crown. Those are paid. It will give you some tough time when you are trying to publish and download your work. So look for free one like this one. However, the one thing I don't like about this outline most of the time is that they are not easy to edit. Let me show you what I mean. If you are editing this kind of, you are expanding it, once you get to this tip, this is where it gets to. You are unable to go past it in width. You cannot expand it in the middle just like we expand the normal shape. So I don't find this one useful at all for this work. I'm going to look for a rectangle that has that middle space like this one. For example, this one will make you expand it. This particular rectangular small shape, small wide shape will make you expand the middle. And that is exactly what I need right now. I don't need another one that will give me headache. So I'm deleting this one. I'm looking for anyone that can do that kind of job for me. It might take some time, but it is worth the stress, at least in the beginning of your work. I'll keep until I find what I need. I'll keep checking until I find what I need. I'm trying to see if I will be able to find this one that can be editable in the middle. Then I look for graphics, outline. I hope I find one. I found what I need in the end. I found what I need. I'm going to save this. I really want to know how to save. I'm going to add to folder because I always want it. I'll add it to upload. That is it. Once you find an element that is so hard to find, don't hesitate to always keep it. I'm keeping it in my folder, and I am keeping it. I'm creating new in my. I'm not gonna in my create. I'm creating new here, and then I'm useful elements. This is the best way to keep those items you use here that you don't always find easy to get. So I'm keeping that, and then I want it to get to this place, to this point, because that is where I need it, so that I can easily remove my ruler and start working. You see, it's already there, right? And that is it, my dear. And that's it. You are ready to remove your ruler now. You are ready to remove your ruler back. So you remove your ruler, and then let's out-click and see what it looks like. Now, because this rectangle, you will find out that this particular rectangle has no outline at the side, and you want it to have outline. So we are going to be using this, and see what I found. That's it. You feel like, to me, I feel like this rectangle is too thick and I want it to be thin. So I come here and change the stroke style. I change the stroke weight from 4 to probably 2 or 1. All I need is something to just make a boundary for me. I don't need another stress. And that is it. Now, if you don't do all this in the beginning, I have done it. I fell into this trap, and I tell you, it was so daunting. Especially when you have a lot of things you're doing. See, it's like a waste of time when you now start removing all these colors after you finish working. So, you remove this one, and all you have left is this. Remember, you notice that the shape, the beauty of this rectangle lies, this is like fancy rectangle, and its function lies in the opposite direction, like those horizontal lines that forms the rectangle. If you are not contented with that, you can always change your rectangle here and keep it for future use, just as I have done in with this one. You get it? Now that you are able to do this, you can now start doing your work. Now, let's assume you have finished your work and then you are now bringing it out here, or you are just starting, wherever stage you are. I am going to be picking one of the designs here to just show you. So I'm going to be to my design, and then I look at all this. Lorem ipsum. So for this lorem ipsum, I'm looking for some words of wisdom, just something to use to show you what I mean, what we have been doing. I don't want to use textbooks because I believe that if you're working with, you first work with your Google Doc. But if you're not working with Google Doc, let's start with, the body text. Now, your body text, this is where we start with, my dear. Remember, always start your work. Whatever you are writing should stay within this limit. If you are opening your Canva and this boundary, this margin is not showing, all you have to do is go to this file, check your setting, and go do show margin. You see that it has removed because I have unmarked it. So I want to return it because I want my margin to always show. I want to see what I am doing. Go back to file, go to settings, and pick your show margin. And it's already here. Whatever you are writing, I don't want to know. Whatever you are writing, please make sure it stays within this margin. It will help you a lot. Remember, when you are doing your ebook, keep your ebook at 8.5 by 11 inches. It will help you to manage your space, and people always love something they will consume easily without stress for ebooks. That's why they look for ebooks. So it reduces the number of pages you use, and with that your book gets a lot of reads. Now let's head on. Whatever you are writing, again, if it's text, should stay within this margin. Oh, you wonder what I am doing. If you want to outclick, you just outclick. If you don't want anything to pick, you just outclick it outside like this. You put your cursor outside of your paper and click on, use your cursor, use your mouse and left click, and that's it. Now this is your body text. Whatever you are writing, again, should stay within this boundary. I am trying to emphasize this because many people working on Canva, if you continue to write, it will continue to take you out. It doesn't care. But when you want to publish, it will give you a lot of problem. You should stay within this margin. Let's assume that is what we are writing, and that is what we want to write. Now, if you want to add an image, I want to add an image now. We are going to add an image now. Probably, what should we add? Some image. Whatever you are looking for, you can just come and type it here. Everything is on Canva, I tell you. I'm going to be looking for a free image. If you're not using free version, if you are using free version, please don't take anything that has this crown. Otherwise, it will give you problem when you are trying to download. And when it's eventually downloaded, you will have Canva. You will have Canva watermark on your work. You don't want to have Canva watermark in any of your work. So you come here. I like this image is what you want to show. Now you have this image, and this is where this is very essential. And you want your image to cover your book. This is where this boundary works. Whatever you are having should not exceed this page, so that when you are working, when KDP takes it, they will always work within that boundary. They won't cut off your work. If you have any text on this image, and it goes beyond this boundary, your work will be rejected. If you have only image and it goes beyond this boundary, your work will be accepted, but it will be cut. So make sure, if you even want it to be on the entire image, make on the entire paper or on the entire page, make sure you are not having sensitive image that you don't want to be cut away. For example, let's say this entire flower that I am showing, you want it to show and you just want this part to cut, then you have to leave it at this point. They will not cut your book. But if you extend it to this point, you see that the flower has shown, they will cut it. So it's better you reduce. If you want to do that, you reduce this because you want that flower to show. You stay at that boundary and that's it. Then you can now expand it to that place wherever you want it to. So do you understand it now? And if you want any part of it not to cut, and it's only one side that is just like this one, make sure you put everything within this boundary. Your work will not be cut. So I will be stopping here. And this is how you do your trim size. Always remember, for your ebook, make sure your book is between 8.5 by 11 inches. It helps your readers to read it in time and consume it in time, and it encourages a lot. It encourages more buy. For your hardcover, if it's not a textbook, endeavor to use something lower than 8.5, probably 6 by 9 or 7 by 10 or 6 by 10. Just make it smaller so that it will be easy to carry around and people will want to hold it, want to read it whenever they have it. And this will also boost sale. This is where I stop today for trim size and bleed. If you want to know more about the cover, then you can always check out my video that attached to this, or go to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.